Okay, so now we need some fins for our rocket body. I'm going to go ahead and start with a box. So I'll just click the little box right there on the shelf. Press W to get the move tool. And just kind of move it up here. And position it somewhere on the rocket body towards the lower part. And these are going to be like the fins, the legs, the stands, whatever you want to call them. And this isn't long enough, so I'm going to select the polycube input here. And I believe the X is the width, so select the width with what left click, and then in the viewport, middle mouse button, drag to the right. Alright. Let's see, maybe a little bit longer. Yeah, I think that's fine. You can make it longer or shorter if you want. Now, subdivisions width. Since we're going to be curving this down, I need more geometry to work with. There's one polygon for each side of the cube. So select polycube again, subdivisions width, middle mouse, drag to the right and left to right raises, left lowers. I think 11's pretty good. Alright, now to shape this, I could try to do it with soft select, so I've still got soft select active. I'm going to select a point here, press R, pull it in like that, squeeze it in like that, and then try to rotate that into place. I mean, that's kind of working, but it's really inflexible. I mean, if I knew it wasn't like, if I knew that exactly like what I wanted, maybe this would work. I mean, it's not terrible. Right? Okay. But, you know, like, what if I decide, like, after I get that done and, like, oh, you know, I'd like it to actually not curve so much. You know, it's... Okay, well, you know, oops. It's hard to work with is the point, right? It's not the best way of doing things. So I'm going to go ahead and undo all the way back to my box. All right, and I'm going to turn off soft select by pressing B. And we're going to use deformers to actually model this rocket fin. So I'm going to go up here to the deform tab, or the deform menu option. Go down to nonlinear and click that top here thing to break it off. And let's start with the flare deformer. I click that and it draws it straight up and down. So if I go ahead and actually, if you look over here on the toolbar, we can edit it over here in the channel box, or we can edit it with a custom manipulator by clicking this last option in the toolbar. And it's changing it, sure. Yeah, sure, I mean, maybe we want that. You know, I mean, let's explore that a little bit. I'm going to select the box, and let's actually add some subdivisions to the height. Let's see if that lets us do anything now. Select the bottom tool again. Alright, so we kind of get a little wedge there, but I'm poking out beyond the rocket body, so I'm going to pull that in and then pull that in there at the bottom. Alright, so let's see here. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to do another flare. And this one I'm going to rotate. So I want it to line up flat with the box. And since it's going to lay flat, it's going to be 90 degrees. So over in the channel box, I'm going to just type 90 in the rotate Z. Select the special manipulator again at the bottom of the toolbox and pull this in. Just kind of playing around a little bit too. Maybe make it a little wider at the top. It's kind of neat. Okay, so that's making a nice fin, but it's very straight. I want this to bend down and touch the ground. So I'm going to select the fin again, and I am going to select a bend deformer. And this one is, once again, it's straight up and down. So we're going to rotate it by 90 degrees on X, just like, or 90 degrees on Z, just like we did with the second flare deformer. That's already highlighted in my channel box. And now I'm going to use the input this time to do the bend. I'm not going to use this tool. So I'm going to select the curvature, go into the viewport, press the middle mouse button, and drag to the right. Hello. Oops, there we go. I don't know why that wasn't working. Okay, so that's bending from the center, all right? And that's not what we want. We want the thicker part of the fin to stay flush up against with the rocket. So I'm going to go ahead and press W with the bend handle selected, and I'm going to drag it closer to the rocket body and start to back off some of that curvature there. I'm selecting my Flare 2 handle again, and I'm going to try and narrow this distance right here. See if I can do that. Yep, I sure can. See, it's allowing me to shape the rocket fin non-destructively, as long as I'm clear on what these flare handles do. So I'm going to go ahead and name this the top to bottom taper. And then I'm going to name this the left to right taper. And I'll just leave the bend named the bend handle. So just by moving that in, I've got a nice bend there, but it kind of straightens out here on the bend. So I'm going to select the low bound, the high bound, and try and increase that a little bit more. Yeah. For some reason that's moving in very round numbers. I'm going to put the high bound at 1.8. 1.6. Yeah, there we go. It's starting to move. 1.3. And I mean, if you don't like the way mine is shaping, you feel free to shape yours however you want. You can be, there's nothing saying it can't, you know, come in like that or go out like that a little bit. It's up to you, as long as it looks cool. All right, so I've got one fin and I need 3 more. So I'm going to select it and I'm going to go up to Edit, Duplicate Special, and I'm going to select the box to get the options. And I'm going to just reset the settings. Now, I want a special type of geometry called an instance, which means that whenever I change the original object, all the other copies will automatically update. And I want 3 copies because I want 3 more fins. And I want each of those copies to be rotated. So I've got one, so like the fins are all lining up with the positive and negative of an axis. So I need 3 more, and each one of these is 90 degrees away from the other. So if you take 4 and then divide it by 360, so you get 90 for each one, and since we've already got one, that's 3. So let's do rotate around Y by 90. And duplicate. Okay, so those duplicated around the pivot, which, you know, that's pretty accurate. Like if I press W, okay, yeah, there's my pivot. So in order to fix that, I need to move my pivot to the center there. So I'm going to press D, and then I'm going to press and hold X, and then I'm going to left click on this the center dot here, and snap it to the grid. When you're holding X, it will snap to a grid, and I want to just snap it to this 000 location right underneath the rocket. Press D again, go to Edit, Duplicate Special, open the box, check the settings, yep, 93 copies instance, and hit Apply. And this time, it goes around. And yeah, I'm looking at this now, I'm looking at this top part of the rocket fin, and I think that's too thick, so I'm going to grab this right here. And it didn't look too thick to me until I had duplicated all three around. And this is the importance of working non-destructively when you can. You can't always do it in Maya. So I'm going to select this flare deformer. I'm going to click the special manipulator, and I'm going to just pull this in a bit. And they're not quite near as thick at the top. And I could even select the polycube all the way at the bottom here. And I can, reduce the width. You know, you can do all sorts of stuff. Now, it's not going to behave as you might expect it, so be very careful with that. You can always undo, but try to make small movements where you can. And that is it for our rocket fins.